Welcome to Mormon Book Reviews, where an evangelical encounters the restoration. This is a very special Mormon Media Reviews with my special co-host with the mostest, co-hostess with the mostest, Rebecca Bibliotheca. Welcome to the house.
Thank you so much, Steve. I am always happy to be here when it's Mormon Media Reviews. I love it.
I love it too. And what I love is when I have superstars in the house, Maven and Jean in the house, who are starting a new channel. And we thought it was apropos that this is like rolling out the red carpet, the celebrity. We got the paparazzi ready to go. Our superstars, Maven and Jean. Welcome to the show.
That was sweet, you guys. Love it.
So we did that yesterday with the backyard professor, and we thought, let's do it again for you guys. I figured
that's nice. Yeah, I was like, wait, sunglasses? I didn't get the memo, but I get it now. I get it.
So either way, I want to welcome you to the channel. And actually, what's so cool is, of course, what we've been doing for a while now with Rebecca and I is we've been doing these features of where we have other podcasters or YouTubers, maybe some who are established or just getting started, and kind of help. Rebecca, we've probably launched dozens of podcasts and YouTube channels now, right? And so that, when you think about it, yeah. And so, and some of them two of them are even bigger than mine now. That one would be Hello Saints with Jeff McCullough, and the other would be 52 Churches in 52 Weeks with David Boyce. And so those two guys were smaller than me when they first came on, and now they're both superstars, and that's really cool. We definitely have to wear sunglasses for them, that's for sure, right, Rebecca?
Yes, big celebs.
And it's really cool to see, like, people maybe, I'll talk to people that have 40, 50, as of right now, 69 subscribers. Latter Daily Digest is the name of the program. You just hit 69 subscribers this weekend. We want to get you over 100 soon. And we're really excited to help you out here. Jean, this was your kind of like your brainchild. And maybe just talk a little bit about, one, what made you decide to do this channel? Because again, I think it's kind of a unique concept and idea. I really like what it is, because I tell people, if you want to launch a successful podcast, don't copy what everybody else is doing. Do something unique and then find your niche. And I think that you have I see the potential here for doing that. And then how in the world were you able to lasso in A-list talent Maven to come on as a co-host? You got to tell us this wonderful story, Jean.
She's costing me hundreds of thousands of dollars. So anyhow, Maven and I connected a couple years ago, and Maven started the idea of maybe we produce some content on TikTok here and there. And I was flattered. She was thinking that she could write a script, and I would be like a Mormon bishop, and she would be like the interview girl and stuff like that.
I still want to do that.
Yeah. And then at first I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. Maven wants. And then I thought, well, Maven wants me to be a Mormon bishop. That might be a bad career.
I feel like you've got that look. I felt like you could pull it off. But also
have a suit I can dust off.
Yeah. And I think when it comes to this podcast, Jean's really good at making connections with people and just talking with, I think, collecting people around him. And I'm one of them. So this was something I think both of us had kind of thought of in slightly different ways, I guess. But and it was, I guess, maybe, Jean, you can say if it's a little bit different from you, but I was thinking for a while now that there are a lot of good podcasts out there, and some of them are very small. And because they're very small, they're not getting the audience that they probably deserve. And that also that maybe the audience that needs their content specifically is unable to find them, or just kind of wade through all of the options out there. And so I was thinking it would be nice if there was a way to kind of really get to the quick of what a podcast is and who they're for and what's different about them. And I don't know if this might be kind of my ADHD also at play here, because sometimes I'm in the mood to consume long form content. So Steve, maybe an hour or 2 hour interview you have with an upcoming podcaster, but other times I just want to know just the quick and dirty, like, who are they and what do they do and why? And so with this podcast, what we're trying to do is basically get to that. The idea is to try to keep these episodes short, between 20 to 30 minutes, and just really try to hone down what it is that's different about this podcast, who it is that they'll reach, who it is that will benefit from their content the most, just to make it very easily digestible content. Jean, do you want to jump in on that?
Yeah, after watching 4,000 hours of John DeLynn, I thought there must be some other things out there. And always, on the side, you get suggestions from YouTube and things like that. And so I was thinking, someday I'll go listen to those other podcasts. And then I started to listen to some of the other podcasts, and I was thinking, wow, they only have, 120 subscribers. This would be pretty good. This would be good for maybe thousands of other people on the Mormon spectrum. And so I was thinking, it would be good for people to get a synopsis, a little taste, and maybe, finding out somebody's background a little bit, as well as, instead of like wondering if they want to, start at episode number 21 or whatever, some show, and then trying to go backwards, that maybe they could find out, from another show like Mormon, like Latter Daily Digest, that they'd be able to, decide to make a choice. And
you've also discussed about how you're going to kind of do also maybe feature clips from programs. Maybe talk a little bit about that, because when you first kind of pitched this idea to me, you said it was kind of going to be like kind of a little bit of like a hybrid, where it's also going to kind of like Talk Soup from the 90s, hosted by Greg Kinnear.
Yeah, we still want to do that. That one will take a lot more time. And so I think, so what we're focusing on now is to try to do the digestible content to get people in with the, with familiar with podcast options that are out there. But I do absolutely want to do that. I think maybe this could be a plug for when our channel gets big enough, if we're getting enough, I think, income and donations to be able to put the time together for that, because that would have to be pretty heavily edited content, and it would involve a lot of hours of watching other content to pull the clips from it. And so it's something I want to do. I know I'm not capable or able to do right now on top of everything else that I'm doing, to do it without that. But yeah, just kind of a reaction show, and highlighting maybe, because with the podcast angle, we'll get, we can kind of hit one podcast at a time and kind of the overall view. But every once in a while, podcasts have a really hard hitting episode that gets really popular, or maybe hits something in a unique way that nobody else has done before, or it goes viral or something like that. And so we thought it would also be nice to have, like a Talk Soup style, where we can take clips of shows that are happening, or that of things that have happened on shows that have been put out within the last week or so, that were either interesting or funny or controversial or meaningful. So if there's maybe a particularly good episode about about how to handle ableism in the church, or ways to make it better, or something like that, that's something that we can highlight. And so, it wouldn't be particularly focused on one podcast, but just on the individual episodes. So unfortunately, that's a little bit further down in the pipeline, but that is also content that we want to start to be able to do, hopefully. So,
maybe can I make a suggestion? Well, I just thought of the idea while you were talking about it. It was, maybe you could do a special episode at the end of the year that highlights clips of like some of the big moments in Mormon podcasting over the last year. So it could be like a year in review. Like, for instance, you have to have clips with the big, huge, explosive interview I had with Jim Bennett and Jacob Hansen. Like take some clips from there, take clips from like maybe highlights of like, important interviews that happen, maybe on Mormon Stories, or things like with Mormonism with the Murph, all the different things. Because, and even talking about, like, just think about how all the different podcasts are all talking to each other. And like you did John Lundwall interview, Rebecca, and then Brent Gardner goes on Mormonism with the Murph to respond to that, and then we're talking with John to come in, he's going to respond to Brent, and we're doing it on different things. So you can even just show how different podcasts are, we're creating these different places, and people are having these conversations. The podcasts are having conversations with each other, and the guests of those podcasts are having conversations with guests from other podcasts. And so I think that would be like a fun thing to do too. That's just a suggestion there, but maybe that could be your like end of the year goals, and maybe do like a year in review highlight. I think that would
be fun.
I think I already thought of that suggestion in a prior life.
Okay. Well.
I would make it an award show, right? You could have different categories for which podcaster accomplished this or did this. I just love this idea, because I feel like when you're podcasting yourself, this is how I will use your channel. People are always like, oh, did you catch that? And I'm like, oh, I should have caught it, but I didn't catch it. So if I can watch your program, then I can be up to date on what everybody else is doing. I can sound like I am up to date. So I love that because there's just simply not enough time, you know?
Right. I think you probably get asked for recommendations too, and I do as
Yes.
well. And sometimes I really think, people will bring up a channel and they'll say it's good, but I don't have the time to dive into it myself. And so, yeah, I think a lot of this was born of my own frustration of just wanting to know. I wish I just knew, just, right off the top of my head, is this, and not just like the type of content, but also what kind of audiences it's safe for. Is this something that's good for if you're deconstructing? Is this the an angst stage podcast, or is this something that you would watch with a believing family member and you can both come to agreement on? I think that's important information. I think really top tier information that people want to know when they are checking out podcasts a lot of times is how far on this spectrum it is as far as like its friendliness or openness. And so I think that's also an important piece of information. So yeah, and
that's a really interesting idea, because everybody always asks me that about my podcast, kind of where are you, who could listen? And people have said, oh, I could listen to this particular episode with a TBM family member. I wonder if you should come up with some kind of a grading, like a G
rating
PG.
system.
No,
Like
I'm
the
serious, because I think
I've thought of it. I'm trying
because it would almost be episode by episode, because some of them you're like, oh, this is getting into the heavy stuff. No one's going to be comfortable with this except for somebody that's fully out. Others are kind of like gateway podcasts. People ask that all the time. Is this okay for so-and-so to listen to? I wonder if there could be some kind of uniform, I don't even know what you would call it. It wouldn't be GPG. We'd have to come up with something, but I think that'd be really helpful and useful for people.
Yeah, the problem I see with that is that there are so many things that can be offensive to a believer depending on where they're at. And and there are a lot of things that one believer might find completely fine and absolutely like zero controversy in, whereas someone else would find it highly offensive and accuse it of being highly critical. So I think that would be the biggest struggle of that. But if we do it, I would think they would have to be really probably very loose guidelines, like stuff that's going to be, if it's going to be mocking, or if there's probably going to be a lot of like swear words, things like that. That's a real obvious kind of content.
It might have to be called the open-mindedness scale, where we put it
I think the
listeners.
Starting out with that's problematic already, but
yeah, no, you're right. Or, it's a big job, but it's a concept that a lot of people want to know what is okay to watch.
Maybe like from viewers. I don't know how easy it would be. It would be kind of like surveys, I guess, and no one likes surveys. But I guess if it's just one question, and if it's like, hey, how friendly is this on a scale of 1 to 10? Where would you put it? And then maybe that would help people could see, almost like Amazon ratings, like what other people have said, where that dial goes. I don't know.
I love that idea.
Now, hey, I'm just curious, just out of the top. I mean, Gene, how many of, let's say, man, this is going to be a tough question because it's probably hard. How do we even quantify this? But how many, what would you guess, how many YouTube channels, podcasts are out there that deal with Mormonism? I mean, is there even a number that we could even take a guess at? Have you even tried to guesstimate yourself?
Yeah, I think it's over 500, but there's just so many that are just like almost for family and friends right now that they're, developing their talents. I remember looking once, like trying to do like a top 100 or whatever, and a lot of them were ones I already knew, and so there's got to be lots more that are out there.
Yeah. I imagine it's so. And I mean, I will say what the biggest transition for me was that for years I was a content consumer. I mean, I was watching basically every night. I was watching Mormon stories, gospel tangents, you name it, I was watching. And the only podcast I actually ever listened to, because I watch my podcast, but because I heard all about this guy, this RFM guy, so I would actually listen to, I'd go, hey Alexa, please play Radio Free Mormon, and so I would eat dinner and listen to that booming voice of RFM across the airwaves there, and it was really interesting, and I had time to listen to these things. And one of the things that's really, and even for the first year of me doing my channel, I was able to continue that habit of really watching almost everything and watching all the different programs. And But then once I got to a certain level, it was almost like now I get shocked when another podcaster contacts me and says, hey, I really enjoyed your episode. Like, you had the time to watch that? Because I don't know how you're able to. I mean, that's the sad thing. And that's what I like is, for me, I would like a one-stop place where you go say, hey, this is Latter Daily Digest. Here's a new podcaster, because back in the day, I found all the obscure ones. I was watching people that had 30 subscribers back in the day. I was watching those small, tiny little channels. Okay. I'm not able to do that anymore. So it's almost like you could be like our little expeditionary force that we send out and say, okay, let's find the next big thing. Let's find the person that has 20 subscribers or just getting started. And let's highlight them. Of course, we do the same thing with Mormon Media Reviews, but you guys could probably maybe focus on that a little bit more than us and make it your niche, and then also take highlights. And I mean, I think this is just a great concept, But honestly, how do you guys like Maven and Jean and Rebecca? How have your viewing habits and listening habits changed now that you have become a podcaster yourself? I mean, from being a consumer to a creator, it's quite a transition, isn't it?
It is.
Oh, Maven, you got to turn your mic on.
Shades of Mormonism Live.
Yep. Just for anyone missing that. I was just gonna say, for me, the amount of content I'm able to consume has drastically dropped. And even when I can still consume stuff, I find that I do need to take more breaks. And I have my headphones on, maybe not these headphones on, but a pair of headphones on almost all the time. And I'm finding I need to probably actually scale that back even more. And it feels bad to me. Maybe you can relate with this, because I'm friends now with so many people who do have podcasts that I feel bad that I can't consume their content and interact with them, because I want to support them as much as I can. And I've had to accept, like, look, they don't watch all of my stuff, and so they should be okay knowing that I can't. This is how it is, and maybe I'm just the one that's kind of needs to catch up and understand and accept that I can't watch all of it. And so yeah, I think also that's also why we're going to try to hopefully have a viewer. I think for Jean and I to make this work. Gene, I think is still able to consume a lot, and he's always gathering, I think, people and podcasts, which I think is great. But I think we want to also figure out a way to harness our viewership and what they're finding. And so that's something else that's on the table is trying to figure out how to get participation from others.
So that's the thing. Like, so put it out there. So folks, actually go to Latter Daily Digest, go to Mormon Book Reviews, go to the comment section here on this video right now, and give suggestions for some YouTube channels and some podcasts that you would like for them to tackle. Maybe you'd also like MMR to do as well. We can kind of work together on this as well, because there is some overlap what we're doing here. But let's just get tell us, is there a channel, some obscure person that has 10 subscribers but's putting out great stuff, and you want them to be? That's what we want to do. We want to put the spotlight on people like that. Does that sound about right, Gene?
That's right. We want to be able to crowdsource, get suggestions. If you have a favorite podcast or your brother-in-law just started one, let us know.
So Rebecca, how has your listening?
Can I add something on to that real quick? Yeah. I just wanted to say I think it doesn't necessarily even have to be a full podcast, like a full production. I think there's also room for if someone else has a channel and they just do one episode about Mormonism, either deconstructing or faithful. This is what Mormonism means to me. Then we can highlight, I think, specific episodes like that. And I think we'd be happy to do that as well. So if you feel like, I've just made 3 videos, it's nothing, or I don't really do this very much, I just had some thoughts to share on that. I don't know. That's something. Right. Go ahead and send it to us. We'll see.
Because at Latter Daily Digest, the main thing is we're trying to honor content creators, people that are putting their face on the line or their thoughts out there. That's pretty brave, and we want to be able to, honor and help them out.
It's very true. Yeah. And that's the thing. People don't realize, like I tell people, it took me months to get to 100 subscribers. And it would actually surprise me how long it took me to build the channel. And now it's weird, because now it's like I got 6,000 subscribers, and I look back at it now and it's like, wow, that's quite a remarkable accomplishment to do. But it's like, but it didn't come easy. And I'm actually kind of grateful that the growth hasn't been like super fast, because I can still manage it. I can still get back to people on their emails. I can still get back to people on Messenger when they reach out to me. And I'm glad I'm able to do that, because it's really important that I have a connection to the audience, because after a while you get to a point where you're so large, you just cannot do it anymore. And even, I mean, when I had breakfast with John DeLynn once, he showed me something somebody sent me, and I read it. And it was really, compelling stuff that I was reading. He goes to me, he says, I get this all the time now. And for him, it would be emotionally draining for him to actually have to read every story and then to have an emotion about it, because it would destroy him, because he gets so much stuff all the time. So he almost has to detach himself emotionally now from a lot of the correspondence he gets from people, because it's too much. And I can totally get that, because I mean, I get emails from people where they're crying, literally you could tell they're crying while they're writing the email, and so there's that importance to have that connection. And when you're still small, you can still be able to do that. And I think that's the key thing, is that we want to stay connected to people as much as we can. I just want people to understand that, like, if John DeLynn doesn't return your email, don't take it personally. I can't imagine the sheer volume that he gets, from people.
And that's something I don't help with. I don't know how he does it. Yeah.
I don't know how he does it either, honestly. And it's funny, like he does it's amazing how connected he is still to his audience, even as hitting 200,000 subscribers. That's insane, But Rebecca, I actually meant to ask you, I follow up on the question. Well, for you, you went from a consumer to a producer of content. Maybe just talk about that transition in your life. What that's been like, because it's only been about a year since you started Mormonish, and you just recently hit 3,000 subscribers. Like I tell you,
it's been less than a year. Yeah, I know. That's what Steve keeps saying. You'll never catch me. Catch me if you can. We're not trying to catch you, Steve. Everybody's trying to work together for the greater good. That's the beauty of the entire thing. So, and that's why we all, can talk amongst ourselves and help each other. So I would say I went from, recreationally listening to podcasts, or listening for my own purposes, to then it's almost like a job now, because I do feel, that I need to be up on things. And I do have people saying, oh, did you catch that? And I feel I better catch that, but I don't always. So sometimes I'll do this. Oh, I didn't really. Give me some highlights, So I will say that I heavily rely on trusted friends and people that just give me information, because we're friends. Like you said, it's very important to connect with people. I have several people that will just shoot me, emails or messages and say, hey, did you catch this? Or this topic is really trending now. Several podcasters have talked about it, and then sometimes these people will say, oh, am I bugging you too much? I'm like, not at all. This is the kind of stuff. It's almost like having an operative, right? Or a mole, somebody that can kind of keep their eye, and then I'll kind of be able to look through it on that. So that's a function I see that Latter Daily Digest will be too. It'll kind of be a one-stop shop. But I'd like to say to everybody that does talk to me or talk to Landon and give us information, we appreciate it so much, and we wish we had time, like Maven said, to listen to everything and be aware of everything, but we do not. So we do count on all of you who happen to come across things, because, there are things that are bubbling up, boiling up under the radar that we should all be aware of, because then we'd like to, shine a spotlight on all that, but we certainly can't keep track of everything. And I, like you're talking about John DeLynn, we just barely reached 3,000 subscribers, which is small, but we're excited about it because it all happened within a year. And we love to communicate with all of our, people that write to us. But like you said, it's getting harder and harder, and people will share their stories. A lot of people would love to come on our program and share their stories, and we would love that too. But then sometimes we're like, oh, you will get 5 stories that are so similar. Maybe we'll pick one person that kind of represents what, this theme is that people are telling us. So, but we love it so much. And I am getting to that point where I feel guilty if I can't sit down and write a really long email to somebody. I can write back and say, thank you so much. We appreciate you. But I can't write the really long email. And some of the things, like you mentioned, Steve, it is very emotional. Like you just, how can I help personally? Can I come to your house? Can I do something for you? And you do get involved and connected. An example I would say would be the people in Cody, Wyoming with the temple, and the people in Hebert with the temple. Now we've met these people in person. We just recently went to Cody We've talked to them, we feel extremely connected to that. So when we're doing our podcast, it's from a place of, we know these people, these are our friends. We like to get the word out, and I think that's what makes a better podcast, if you can be that connected. So it's worth the effort to try. But as we all know, it's also very difficult. So hopefully people understand. Walk in our shoes for a minute, right? And again, I'm very small, not even as big as you are, Steve, or any of these bigger ones. But I will say, everybody, all the podcasters I interact with, and I'm sure all of you will agree with this, there's great empathy for people. There's great understanding. There's great concern and care, even from the top. John DeLynn, RFM, Bill Reel, they care. They're genuine. They're authentic in what they're doing, even if they can't email you back every second. So, but I see Latter Daily Digest as an answer to this, just for everybody to be able to see what everyone's doing. So I'm really excited. A podcast about podcasts. I love it.
That's right. This is like a call out to scientists. The cloning technology's lagging. We need to be able to
we need
clone
more
ourselves.
Of us. That's right. Or Hermione Granger in the Time Turner. That's right. We need something.
So I just wanted to pull up here on the screen.
There it is.
This is Latter Daily Digest. And I see you've had Gustav on there, who's my friend from Mexico. I call him the Mormonism with the Murph of Mexico. Then we have the pilot episode, which was supposed to be an unaired pilot episode. But I ended up, I'm wearing, if you notice, folks, I'm not wearing my hat, and I'm wearing an undershirt. And we talk about my channel with Gene, so that these are some, this is just a new thing, just
pants
getting started.
Or no pants?
I was wearing pants. I will tell you that. It was maybe shorts. I might have been wearing shorts, but yeah. So basically, this is the channel, and so you got 4 videos up, and let's see, we got anything else going on here?
Yeah, no, not much.
Right.
We're still building, and so this is why Gene is great, because I'm the kind of person that will take forever to feel ready to get up and get something really going, and Gene has really, I think, pushed me past my comfort zone, and I think it's such a good thing. So yeah, maybe we don't have an intro, maybe we don't have all these a Patreon or any of these other kinds of things set up, but I'm glad that we're doing what we're doing, and yeah, hopefully we can get some more momentum. Sometimes I'm the one that's really kind of stopping it, so I appreciate Jane's patience with me. But we are trying to get Stephen Murphy on Mormonism with the Murph as well, and I wanted to, I guess, point that out too. So I guess Gene and one of the problems that we saw in doing this was that we're both kind of we're on the other side of Mormonism now. And a lot of people view me as antagonistic. And I guess depending on the day, I might describe myself that way as well. And so I really appreciated the interview I say we, but I had technical difficulties and I wasn't able to do it, but with Gustav, and we want to do more faithful things. And I already find myself just in reaching out and getting these other ones on, or hopefully up in the queue. I find that it's actually helping me, and you as well, Steve. You do this. You're kind of a tempering effect sometimes on the angst or the pain that I still really feel sometimes. Excuse me. And so I find that, I think, really valuable for me personally. And I think as well to anyone, wherever you are on the spectrum, where it comes to Mormonism, it is still helpful to know what else is out there. I know there's a lot of people, in my position that that want to share things with family, but yeah, I don't know if something's really like good or not, or would like to find something. Maybe their family members are not interested at all in what they're currently watching. Is there something in the middle? And so, yeah, I think I hope that this can be something that, yeah, can connect people with, like I said, the content that they need. So if it's going to be maybe Marriage on a Tightrope, I hope we can get them on as well. They do a lot of work to really like heal and keep families together. And so I think that's, stuff like that is important to get out there to people who need it. And we actually just did one with Sarah Westbrook. She does Unpacking Mormonism, which initially from the title I thought was like a deconstructing Mormonism channel, but it's not. It's actually, it's about unpacking trauma, or even just, health issues. It's about mental health. And so this is a channel, that can also be for current believers to maybe work through different aspects of shame, maybe that kind of come to, so you could still be Mormon and come through it better and in a better place, like as far as your mental health goes. So if there's somebody that's looking for that kind of content, with she's a registered, I don't know, a licensed psychologist. So you can have someone there that's got that angle in particular that you're looking for if you're looking for healing in that kind of a way. So
That's right.
that was really great.
If people still have bandwidth to watch Steve, our episode with Steve is going to come out shortly.
Oh, good. I'm
Yep.
looking forward to it. Yeah. And
Right.
I feel like
with your new channel. Yeah.
I feel like the idea of what you just said made me think like a playlist where you could have, if anybody is really concerned about shame issues, here are some podcasts that delve in that, or even some episodes. Sorry, my dogs are barking, or, different things like that. I think that's useful so that people, really looking for something, they could find it in a one-stop shop right there. Here are some podcasters that do a really good job, a really sensitive job of dealing with this or this. If you want, a history podcast, here are these. So, I mean, there's so many possibilities, the way that you guys can aggregate everything to really help people get to what they want.
That's the hope.
Yeah.
That's
no,
the
Right.
hope. Yeah.
I think Steve is helping us all along the way.
Oh, yeah, anything I can do
He
to help.
is.
I love to help people. I really do. Honestly,
That's right. My lawn needs some mowing, Steve. So
I'll book a round trip ticket to the Bay Area, from Tampa Bay
That's
to your Bay. No, I think not. I don't think I'll get my hands quite that dirty. Although I do get deep in the weeds sometimes. I will admit to that. But I do want to.
my lawn.
Yeah. So, and I think it's really cool. This is the thing too, is, one of the most important things that happened to me, of course, was going on Mormon Stories, developing a friendship and relationship with John Dehlin when I had 23 subscribers. And I'm talking to John Dehlin. The night I'm talking to John Dehlin, the next day I get a friend request from Sandra Tanner. I'm like, whoa, they're already noticing me with 20 something subscribers. I was like, I think I got something special here. And that meant so much to me. And then Rick Bennett was the first person I interviewed, who's like, I watch this stuff all the time on Gospel Tangents. I couldn't believe I was talking to Rick on the phone. And next thing you know, I'm talking to all these big podcasters, and I'm still just a couple hundred subscribers. And I'm getting all the top scholars and getting all this great stuff, getting Mark Staker from the Church Historian's Office coming on, and breaking news about the pollen study at the farm in Vermont about what they were growing. I mean, that was broken on my channel when I had 250 subscribers, if that. And so it was just really exciting to be able to have this access. And I also recognize how, I was talking about it with you, Rebecca, yesterday when we were interviewing the Backyard Professor, is it's strange because the way I look up to them, those people, when I was a small channel, now I realize oh, wait, now there's people that are kind of looking up to us. And it feels weird to be in that position. And then I recognize, okay, well, I was at Sunstone, and I was talking to these people in the hallway, and these people said, what's the most important thing you think you've done with your channel, or you're doing with your channel? And I went to them and said, you know what the most important thing is? I said, it's this conversation you and I are having right now. That's the most important thing, is having that personal connection with people and building these networks. Okay. And this is the thing, where I'm positioned in such a way that I have very, very, very faithful people. I'm going to have Hannah Stoddard from the Joseph Smith Foundation. I've been talking to her. And then maybe next week I have, John Dehlin, or any number of Radio Free Mormon, to be able to talk to that. And actually, I kind of see the potential with you guys, because even though you both would kind of be both viewed as being post-Mormon, I think if you guys could try to position yourself to be as neutral as you possibly can be, that you could kind of occupy a similar space that I've been able to do with MBR. And that I think you guys, at least I think that's what you should strive for. And I also noticed that there's a sensitivity you guys have for people who still are members of the church, for TBMs, for believers, and you're sensitive to where they're coming from. And I think that that's really the right attitude to have, that, that you realize, I was a believer once too. And I know what it's like to be a believer. I know what it's like to be an atheist. And I know what it's like to come back into belief again too. And so it's really important that we all be sensitive to where people are too, and what podcasts that they would be wanting to listen to. And so maybe, I don't know, I think that really, is that what you guys are trying to do? Maybe just look at yourselves as kind of being like a neutral, safe space for all different voices.
Sure.
That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. And I think that's an important thing to do in these times where there's a war freaking going out in Israel. We got a society here, our American culture is being torn into pieces. And I refuse to be pigeonholed. I'm like, no, you're not putting me in a box. Like I was talking, we got Backyard Professor was holding up a trash can. I said, we're throwing that box in the trash. No more box. Ain't putting me in any boxes. And I think that's the important thing too, is not be put in a box, not have a reputation as being pro or anti, just being fair. And I think that is the key thing. And really, honestly, when you stop and think about it, I'm reminded of when Rod Meldrum went on Mormon Stories. Okay. Now, this is what's so fascinating to me, is that I was actually the one that helped facilitate that to come together. Because I was probably at the time the only person on the planet that had both John DeLynne's and Rod Meldrum's phone number in their phone. And so when it's announced that Simon Southerton is going to come on Mormon Stories, he's going to do a takedown of Rod Meldrum in the Heartland model. I'm literally talking to Rod on the phone that morning saying, hey, you might want to check this out. Later on, I'm talking to John on the phone. And later that day, John and Rod are talking on the phone with each other. And then later on, a few months later, Rod Meldrum comes on and does an epic interview. And of course, we all know the results of that interview. We also know the kind of how it just kind of this whole domino effect within the Mormon podcast world that happened as a result. But what I would say is that if you're a Rod Meldrum, or you are somebody who is a part of the Heartlander movement or persuasion, they would all agree that John DeLynne gave Rod Meldrum a fair shot. Like, he let him say his piece. He let him tell his story. And I would argue that fair Mormon will never do that for Rod Meldrum. But John DeLynne's Mormon Stories could do it.
Or John DeLynne.
Right. And so to me, it's like that was what was an important interview. But I also think that shows that you can have a real faithful person on a show like Mormon Stories, and that faithful person be like, well, John DeLynne gave me a fair shake. You can say whatever you want, but at least John DeLynne gives me a fair shake that fair Mormon would never, ever give to a Rod Meldrum. And I think that's really I think that was one of the most important interviews that happened on Mormon podcasts for a very, very long time. And maybe that's another example of, like, when you do your end of the year review show, you could take something like that, even though that's from a couple of years ago. But those are the important things because our podcast, you could also look at it this way. The podcast that you're going to be doing is also going to be documenting history. And this is part of Mormon history now. This is part of the conversation. And so what happens?
Time capsules.
The time capsules, and so you can document. And not only that, but you want to save clips, because sometimes some of these shows might pull their stuff off too. So you can also save some of this data and important clips from different shows that might not always be available. So you could be a real resource in that regard. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do like a big long speech there, but I just had to. There's a lot on my mind there that I had to unpack. I was unpacking my Mormonism, if you will.
Had to get it off your chest. Yep.
So, well, Rebecca, was there any more questions you had for Maven and Jean?
I am just really excited. So are you thinking it's going to be like a weekly kind of a thing, or a bi-weekly? What are you, I mean, I know you have goals, and then they don't work out, or they do. What's the hope and goal for that as far as how frequently you release?
Right now, weekly. Okay. And then if it becomes
struggling to survive in a way.
Yeah.
Well, you have daily in your name.
We do.
So you got
that would be something. So.
Well, what I would say is you could just do shorts. Like, I literally will just pull out my phone and talk for 59 seconds in the phone, post it on my channel, and sometimes I'll get a few thousand views just by doing a short, because sometimes they'll go a little bit more viral than regular videos will. So that's one thing. Or you could even take shorts from other shows and post them too. That could be like you could do like what was the biggest highlight on yesterday's Mormon podcast, and just take a 30-second, 40-second clip from like Mormon Stories or my show or whatever, and put it on there too. That could be another way of doing it too. I don't know. We're producing on the fly here, but this is the cool thing, is that we can come up with these ideas, throw them out there, and see what happens, right?
Yeah.
So we gave you a lot to chew there. And Jean, I think, first of all, you're a really awesome human being. I remember the first time, and Rebecca, it was one of the first times I think I met you was when we did it was either my first or second meetup. I think it was my second meetup that I did.
I think it was too, at Costa Vida. Yeah.
And it was at the Costa Vida. And there's this guy with the tie-dye shirt who's sitting at a table by himself with a bunch of books. I'm like, oh, what's that guy up to? And he was kind of like doing his own thing, but we're like, I don't know. But, and then as we got to know you, we just found that you were such a truly fascinating person. And you're of course, everybody knows Gene from all his posting on Facebook, and as well. And Gene, I think it was so cool that then when we went to Sunstone the first time, I interviewed you about going on Sunstone. And we heard back from Lindsay Hansen Park. She contacted us saying that she was crying. She was so grateful for the nice things we said about her, because it was actually a very taxing Sunstone, to be honest with you. That one, it really was a rough one. And so that meant a lot. And that was the cool thing. Gene, here you are, just some layperson who comes on my program, and next thing you know, you're making Lindsay Hansen Park cry.
That's right. She's awesome. And it has been a long journey. You when I first appeared on your show, challenged me, and it only took me a little over a year to respond to your challenge.
That's what I like to do. I like to challenge people. I like to challenge people's faith. What do you mean by that, Steve? Well, I want to challenge your faith, not to undermine it, but to strengthen it. Or your belief system, your ethical system, even if you aren't a believer. I'm still going to challenge you. I'm going to push back on you, not because I'm trying to prove you wrong. I'm just trying to see if you're, how strong of a faith or how strong of a belief system do you have, and does it hold any water? And so that's kind of what I like to do. And I like to challenge people. I really think that's important, because if we're not being challenged, we're not growing, we're not progressing. And I think that's really important that we all try to do that. Now, I want to go back here to share screen. We want to go back and highlight this wonderful little channel. We're still at 69 subscribers. Folks, let's get them to 100. Come on, let's do this. We can make this happen. I love your logo. I think it looks really cool. We got Latter Daily Digest, and you're at Latter Daily Digest with a hyphen on YouTube. And so that's that. So check out the channel. Let's get them to 100 subscribers, because you know what happens when you get 100 subscribers? You get a little blurb from YouTube saying, congratulations, you got 100 subscribers. That's your very first thing that you'll get a recognition from YouTube, is when you hit 100. So I'm excited for you. And when that happens, I want a screenshot sent to me showing that you got your congratulations from YouTube. And then eventually, hopefully one day, maybe some of us, all of us, will have that silver YouTube plaque behind us when we hit 100,000 subscribers. We can all dream, right?
Right.
So,
and we can dream.
I'm thinking 500,000 by 2025. That's what I'm shooting for.
Now, Gene, you are an ambitious man.
Big.
I have no doubt that this could possibly happen. So either way, folks, tell us what you thought about this episode. Tell us what maybe episodes, podcasts, YouTube channels. You can put them in the comments, and of course, go to their channel and leave comments on their videos as well. And let them know, let's crowdsource this, and like I said before, I think one of your taglines is Latter Daily Digest. We watch and listen to all the podcasts, so you don't have to. And so that would be, that's one way to look at it as well. So folks, just a reminder, we've got ourselves, don't forget our merch store, mormonbookreviews.com. We got ourselves, those of you who'd like to financially support the channel, there are going to be links in there. Gene and Maven, I want you to send me links that I can put in.
Here's our merch.
That's the question is it half full or half empty? How optimistic are you?
I'm very optimistic.
It's half full.
Half full.
Yep.
That's great. Oh, you know what? I just want either
it's
one
all
of you
the way full, but some of it is air.
Got it. So before I let you go, Maven and Gene, was there any final words you'd like to share with the audience? We're all set?
No, I thought this was great. Gene, you?
Yeah, thank you so much, Steve, for everything you've done. You've been like a pattern for me, like all the voices will be heard, and also honoring people. And so I kind of got a little bit of you in me, so there could have been some genetic transfer when we were at that first meetup. I don't know what it was, but thank you very much. And Rebecca, it's really an honor to be on the same screen as you. And so, I can't wait until you pass John DeLynn with Mormonish.
Yes, I'm sure that's going to happen. But I will say, Gene, everyone appreciates how much you promote people. Gene is just wonderful as just an individual to just post and post. And so I'm really glad this is going to be a new avenue for you to get through and to communicate what you already do, because you're a wonderful human being.
That's right. I don't have the time. I don't have the technology, and I don't have the, can't remember what I was going to say, but I have the time.
You've got the time. That's the key thing.
And talent. Right. I don't have the talent. See, I just displayed.
Well, this is the key thing. And this was advice I gave to Rebecca early on when she started her podcast. And then I always tell this story. So in the early 1990s, they decided they're going to start up a Chicago sports talk radio station. And there's this well-known Chicago Sun-Times columnist. His name was Terry Boers. And he was asked to be a co-host on the program. Now, he's a writer. And he goes to the station manager And he's like, I've never done this before. How I've never done radio before. How does this work? And this is the station manager who has a lot of experience in radio. He goes to him and said, you know what the most important thing you can do as a radio broadcaster? He said, do you know how the number one way of succeeding in this business? He's like, what's that? He says, this is the secret to success in radio. He says, open mouth, say things. That's the key to being successful. So don't overthink it. Just open mouth, say things. Folks, thanks again for putting up with me and my antics and my jokes. Sometimes I come across a little cornball. I know that, but I think it's a wise advice. Open mouth, say things. That's the key thing. Don't overthink it. Don't overdo it. And that will make up for a lot of things. So I want to hear from you all. Remember, this is the most important thing, though, is remember this. All the voices of the restoration will be heard here on Mormon Book Reviews.